Hey, welcome back. I haven't posted for a few days. I haven't been great. It's my usual heart trouble. I have hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, and I have good days and bad days. So these last few days haven't been very good. Now, a couple of days ago, I posted on my Facebook page something about Joseph Stalin. Years ago, Stalin, he once brought this chicken in front of his people, his followers, and it was a live chicken, and he plucked it. He plucked all the feathers off this chicken while it was still living. And it had blood coming off it because some of its skin was torn. It did not die instantly, and he, featherless, he let it go, and it was moving around, and he got some grains, wheat bits and grains from his hand and started throwing off to the chicken. And then he started walking away, dropping these bits of grains, and the chicken started following him. And he turned around and said to his followers, "This is how easy it is to govern stupid people." It's very sad. Then he said that they will follow you no matter how much pain you cause them, as long as you throw them a little worthless treat once in a while. And I think that everyone is like that. It doesn't take a stupid person to follow someone in that fashion. And only yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine who, she's a married woman. She has some learning difficulties. And when I mean learning disability, or difficulties, I do not mean that she's stupid. She's a highly intelligent woman, but she has Asperger's and things like that, and it affects us slightly differently to other people. And she's also mainly very trusting, and the fact that she's very kind, and as people like that, and that includes me, we tend to react to other people because we believe about how they're presenting to us is that that is their real them. We can't read between the lines that this person is having me on, this person is pulling my leg, or this person is grooming me for something. We take it at face value. So if you present to me like you're a kind person, you're actually being kind to me, your actions towards me, that is what I'm going to take as who you are. Your intentions of why you're doing that to me, I don't have the ability to fathom that. And as I say, I think that everyone, including those who believe or those who say to themselves, they understand the world. They're not going to behave so stupidly like that person did in that instance, that they'll behave differently because, surely you have to be blind to not see it. And good for you, for those who have those kind of mindsets and mentality, or who make such comments. However, on my part, I think you're the blind ones, because you will find that if you actually open your mind, you are probably doing what you're doing because you're following someone else's lead. You're probably saying what you're saying because you think, oh, well, if I don't do this, this is how they're going to think of me. So it does not mean that in your own mindset, in your own core innovation thinking, that's what you're going to do. Because if you were left in a natural environment without the influences that, you've had, your thought processes won't be like that. But also another thing is that all our brains are wired differently, and everything else about us is learned. So life is learned. We learn about how to be. And I have learned about how to behave. I have learned about how to treat people. I have learned about how to respond to people. I'm not saying what I've learned is the best way, but it's a way that is generally acceptable. And most people have then, thought of me as the person that I am. I suppose that I'm a good person, apart from those ones who decide to make me what they think or what they want me to be, because they have other ideas or other intentions. Anyway, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she's a very good person. She has autism, Asperger's, as I say earlier. She's a married woman. She's highly intelligent. But in her childhood or in her growing up, she has trusted in people on face value. But these are people who have wanted to use her in the most evil ways anyone can imagine. So in the psychology sense, you would call it grooming. It was an easy thing for them to do that because they could see that she's going to believe and trust them. And that's when they'll come and bite. A bit like Stalin took that chicken, plucked it, and live, it's bleeding, but it's still following him with these bits of food that is dropping, even if he is the one that actually did all that horror to the chicken, and the chicken should be running away from him rather than following him just because of the bits of grain. So that kind of mentality is in everyone. And my friend, unfortunately, taking at face value these people who knew exactly what they were doing so that they could achieve their end goal, which they have eventually achieved. And what they've done is they've used her as a sex slave. They've trafficked her. And unfortunately, this kind of manipulation, when you put things together and you try to go and tell your story to either the police or someone else to say, oh, look, can you please help me because this is what I'm enduring, they're going to turn around and say, you have to be an idiot. Why did you actually do that? You must have wanted to. I mean, what else did you expect the chap to do? You accepted this, you went with that, Couldn't you see it, or were you just so blind? Come on, this is an excuse. Did he dump you and now you want some kind of a vengeance? So people like her and people like me, who our abusers have been perceived or seen as the ones who are in the innocent, or we're the ones in the wrong. And we don't have a leg to stand on, because whichever way we say it, when you guys who have who are so well adjusted, when you actually hypothesize the situation, you end up blaming us. We end up not having anyone to cry to. So here is a person with this kind of learning disability, and although she's highly intelligent, she has her limits in terms of trusting people, and she has fallen into sexual slave trafficking time and time again. And these people, what they've been doing to her is turning it around on its head and using it to shame her. She's a married woman, and I can only imagine that, they are probably using it to say you are cheating on your husband and you've been doing this because that's what you wanted, because you accepted this, because you did that, or whatever else they presented to manipulate and brainwash her and groom her. They achieved their ends, and now she has nowhere to turn to. And yes, I can hear you saying, oh, crikey, surely the police will help with that. Surely they can do. No, they can't, because the manipulation and the grooming and the acts itself, they're so well thought through. So you can't justify it in any court of law. It's as if she wanted to go ahead and do that kind of thing because she responded to certain stimuli that locked her into that kind of horrific situation. It's not, she never anticipated it would end up like that. She never anticipated that kind of behavior from someone, it means that their planning or their intent is to end up sexually abusing her, sexually exploiting her, and then turning it around the head to say, well, you came to my bedroom. Oh, well, you came at such and such. Oh, you came for a meal with me. Oh, yes, there have been rape cases which have gone to court, and it's to some point acceptable now that just someone did not say yes, and they said no. So that means that they didn't want it. But then these people, because they are so skilled, they have a way of explaining words. They have certain language that they use that everybody else turns around and say, what's she trying to do to you? She's trying to ruin your reputation. You are a good person. You've done all this to her. You've done all this for her. You've done this and that for her. And this is how she's trying to repay you. And when I was listening to her story, I kept thinking about myself, and I kept thinking I was not, my sexual abuse was as a child. But what is happening to me right now with my family and how everything is panned out, one, I was an idiot, because years and years ago, I should have realized that actually this is how my family perceive me. And this is then how I'm supposed to behave. I should have been a lone wolf ages ago without it being forced on me. But I suppose everybody else, regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of where you are at, identity is something that you wish to hold on to, because without that, it's almost like you're a walking nightmare. You're lost. You're in a vacuum. You haven't settled, because where is home? Who are you? If I had accepted that, one, I will never ever have the love of my mother, my siblings, and two, that this is the kind of person that they all have an understanding but me about who I am, I would have walked away years ago. I wouldn't be at this situation right now. I would have said it failed from the outset. And I would never, ever, one of the things for sure, I would never have brought those two girls who are my brother's kids. I would never, because the relationship with my mother and her children should have been severed years ago. But I carried on because I suppose I wanted an identity and a sense of belonging. I did not open my eyes or have an understanding that they already put me somewhere, and they did this from years and years and years ago. But I failed to open my mind to it. I still felt I belonged, and I still wanted to really cement that belonging and show that I can be helpful. And sometimes when you are groomed like my friend in those kind of situations, it's as if to say, people don't understand me, and I suppose she had a bad time in school, so no, she wasn't having friends the way everybody else was having, and now she's found someone who is paying her attention. So these are the people that you try to gravitate to, but they too have their own agenda about you. But we fail to open our eyes. We fail to understand that this is leading to something else. I held on to my family. I held on and wished for those relationships. I continued doing the visits. I continued doing the contacts because I wanted to still belong. And because where else should I go? Who else is going to be my blood family? But I think then my children have grown to realize from the outset, because they're growing up in a different environment, so they had a different kind of level of intelligence, especially my older son, that saw it from the outset that actually no one likes my mother. And instead of him saying, it's all right, mommy, we've got each other, he has used it to get his own way and in the process destroy his own life to the point where he is now no more. But what happens is it turns round and then it's brought back full circle to me and say it's me that killed him. And yet, but no one will explain to me exactly how. But this is something that I'm going to have to tell you eventually as I go along, when I will actually do incident by incident rather than just generally talk about the different, how it was in those days at such and such a place, or that I couldn't tell you the different kind of incidents I'm living with my mother, because it was a constant thing of insults, degrading insults. It was constant. It was on a daily basis. It was on a daily basis. It was being insulted, being belittled in the most unforgivable manner. And between those, it developed a label of me about their own understanding of what they wanted me to be. The village idiot who never amount to anything, the smelly person. And so nobody ever anticipated or expected me to achieve the things that I've achieved today. And so instead, if I've achieved what I've achieved, then I must have done it either illegally or with superpowers. I wish I had superpowers, because I sometimes I don't want to revenge, but sometimes I get angry in all the processes I've been going through. And I just thought, if I had a certain kind of magic, I would make them do this just momentarily, just to say, and put this thought in their mind that this is happening to you because of this and that, because of, what you've done. But I haven't. I haven't wished, I haven't cursed, I haven't said it out loud. In fact, every time I try to think about revenge, I pray very seriously to God to forgive me, and I pray for Him to take away these thought processes in my mind, because I must forgive them. Because I don't need. It's a bit like they have enjoyed what they've done to me. They put me in that position. So do I then live my life constantly living it, or do I just forgive and forget? And I decided at some point that this is as infuriating as it had been. I have to completely forgive and forget. And that is why, and that is how I have managed to focus on my life to develop a life that I have led now. The stuff that I've achieved is the work that I've put into it, that I focused into it. I'm not destitute, although they have convinced many people about what I'm supposed to be. And those people have believed whatever it is that they believed. The fact that I don't know the detail is very, I suppose, has been very helpful, because I can't dwell on something I don't know. All I know is it's something terrible, because people don't abandon you like that for nothing. And it doesn't matter what you do or what you say. Nobody pays you any time of day. Nobody pays you any kind of attention. And yes, like my friend that was telling me yesterday about what she's going through right now, something she'd gone through as a teenager, and now as an older married woman, I would say she's in her mid-30s, early 40s, coming on for 40s. I suppose she's in her mid-30s, I would say. And she's going through the same thing, and she's a married woman. And I don't know what the husband is thinking. I don't know whether he's supportive. and who she can turn to, or whether people think, oh, here she is, she's saying about that again, because this is what you guys do, right? Oh, she's talking about that again. Oh, shame. Gosh, can she get real? Oh, she's saying I moved on. Oh, but she's not moving on. That's because you don't let us. That's because what you do is constant, and you don't allow us to forget. You know, my friend should have been, never have to be reminded about what she endured as a teenager, as a sex slave, and being trafficked, because it shouldn't happen to her again. And yes, you're saying, oh, how stupid it is. If you went through it before, why didn't you realize that this is how it's going to happen? Well, we don't have the ability. You didn't allow us. You don't allow us in your know-how. You do not show us that this is how you spot it. Because all we do is we believe, we trust in people who pretend to be good and kind to us. We take it as genuine. And that is how it is. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had these two friends, a couple. And, oh, you're my sister, and we do this. And, you know, they were visiting me, dropping in any time of day, until they tried. And you see, at that time, I had already myself moved on, in terms of, if anyone crosses this particular boundary and comes in, you're my friend, but if you want to come in then and start correcting how I live my life, or if you want to be bringing things from my family who have then recruited you, and now you want to talk to me like you're in riddles, because I actually don't know what you've been told, or why you're talking to me like that, or what you expect me to do with that. But I have learned to spot that the reason now why these people have so bizarrely changed attitude and talking to me like this, I've come to learn that it's because one of my family members has been at them. So these people, they came in, they got themselves involved in my family. I didn't know that at the time, but they started asking me, how is such and such? And I'm thinking, well, why are you interested now? And I straight away, because it's been going on for so long with my various kind of friends, and this is how I've lost friends, I've spotted that this is what it is. So I said, look, I allow friends who are my friends in my house, because they're my friends. But those who want to involve themselves with the rest of my family, they are my family. And I know that it's not easy for people to believe that your own blood, your own flesh and blood, as close as that, will do that to you. But if anyone comes in my house pretending that they are on my side and they're being friends, and then they start behaving so oddly and start talking things that I don't know how they came about, I said, I'm not having this, because I'm not having my life reported to my own family back, because they make my life hell. They did not like me talking to them directly and seriously like that, because one, you know, when you know you've done nothing wrong and it's happened to you more than once or twice, you've learned that this is how it comes. And because I have already put markers along the way, and I say to them, that's it. They were in my life because it made them feel useful, because they liked to say, we're the only ones of this unwanted, of this condemned person, because we are the good people. They were there to feel good about what they're doing, rather than to actually say these are the kind of people that generally just does that, not because they're after any kind of reward or recognition, but they were after some kind of recognition. And I did not give them the opportunity, because my friends who know me very well would not behave the way they did. So I cut them off. And unfortunately, my friend did not realize that these people will also do that. I mean, this is COVID era, and a lot of people have lost jobs, and a lot of people are broke now. So if someone comes and says, oh, you know, I know you're struggling, but I have such and such a little job. If you could do it for me, that would be great. You know, can you manage it? Oh, yes, of course I can manage it. And you would do this job because you think, oh, it's a job. and you're waiting to get paid. And then they start getting friendly and they'll say, oh, you know what, after work, if you want to, come around and have dinner with us. What is wrong with that? For people like me, we think, oh, I've never had people who treat me so well and just accept me as I am. So you go for it. But you don't know that these are all tactics to get you to where they want, so they could well and properly abuse you and turn it round the head and say, we did this and we did that for you. And you chose to come and do this, you chose to come and do that, and now you're turning it round and making us look bad. But you really are like, I actually had no clue I was being groomed for this. I had no idea. But who are you going to cry to? Because all you good people, you think we're idiots, including the police. They will not help you. They will look at you. I mean, they used to leave me in this house after I called them. And they'll look at me as if, 1 minute, one police officer will be saying, oh, it's okay, we'll help you. Don't worry about it. And then the next minute when they meet, they come, two of them, one is talking to the boys, the other one is talking to me. When they come to meet, they turn up together. They look at me like I sprout 20 horns on my head and say, take care of your family. And, and they walk away. Where is the help? Where is the offer of the help the other police officer was giving me a few minutes ago before he went to speak to his friend? It's gone. It's now me that has to be left into it, because whatever it is that they told, they believe it's me that's wrong. And whatever my behavior is towards them, it's genuine, but it's turned around and said that it's not genuine. So I'm left in the situation again. And all of you, that's why you're not here. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, you used to visit me. Yeah, 10, 15 years ago, even that, 5, 9 years ago, you used to be in my garden. We would have dinner get-togethers. So you don't even pick up the phone and say, hi, how are you? Ask yourself, why did that happen? And what is it that you're believing? What is it that you know about me? Exactly. So how did that come about? How did that come about? And what is it that's convinced you? Because somebody was so close to me that's told you that? That's the unfortunate thing. So people like me, people like my friend, we are left by our abusers. It's not so bad when the abuser is a stranger. But the pain is much more so when your abuser is your own. And that's what you're believing. So in a way, you are exacerbating the situation because you're believing the wrong person. And you're adding to the persecution of the person who actually needs the rescue. But guess what? God is always on our side. Right? Because as a lone wolf, I'm highly independent, resilient, and I lack nothing. But those people who have convinced you and are now so shameful to show their faces back to even when they're suffering and struggling, because don't forget they were children, they can't come back to ask for my help. Are you helping them? Whatever struggles they go through, are you in their life? Or did you just enjoy the little gossip and decided, oh, well, and, shame their mother or in front of them and leave it at that? What kind of help are you giving them? Well, so that is the sad situation. That is the sad situation for the police, for the family members, for the agencies who refuse to believe the abuse the likes of me and my friend have gone through and endured, and classed us as the no-hopers, the useless, the hopeless. Don't waste your time on them. They're never gonna understand or make sense. They're in a world of their own. Leave them to it. Well, I say, good luck to you, because you're perfect people. And thank you for putting the people like myself and my friend in the situation where we have nothing but God. And because our God is providing what we need. So we have much more of a relationship. For that, we thank you. Yeah, because we can say we're a testimony. But will you hear it? No, because you call it a waffle, because you know better. You're more intelligent, you're more clever, because you never find yourself in that kind of situation. But I'll tell you something. A different friend can now testify to you that your own people can persecute you, sidetrack you, completely abandon you for doing nothing wrong. Yes. And she would never have believed that 5-6 years ago. Never. What is the difference with you? You don't think it's going to happen to you? Okay.